Welcome to Arctic Aurora LifeScience February update. Today we have changed the format slightly, so in order to be able to show slides as we speak, we will instead show short webinars instead of our movies that we had the prevailing month. But we hope this will be very interesting for you to watch. Another thing today is that our analyst, Daniel, is not presenting today because he had a little daughter a couple of days ago and is on paternity leave, but will be back next month. The agenda for today is, to begin with, we will comment on the performance of the fund and the sector. We will look at top-bottom contribution to February return. And from those top and bottom contributions, we have chosen Calvista and Atea as interesting cases to comment more on in detail. We will also comment on the full year results from Big Pharma and Big Biotech. As you know, February is a very intense month for those full year results. And least but not last, Torbjörn will comment on the corona vaccine situation right now. So looking at the markets and the subsectors during February, it's a quite interesting picture. It started very strongly for healthcare. And as you know, January and the last quarter of 20 was also very strong for healthcare and small cap biotech, as you can see on the green line in the chart. However, after a couple of weeks into the month, inflation fears and interest spikes caused some changes in the sentiment, and we saw some profit taking in the small mid-cap segment. Also, the other parts of the healthcare sector was not as strong as S&P 500, indicated that we saw some rotation out of the sector during February. As you can see, S&P was up 1% and the healthcare indices was down around 4 or 5% during the month. The fund, however, had a very positive performance. We were in relative terms approximately 5% stronger or better than our benchmark index. In dollar terms, we were flat and our index were down 3.7%. And in Norwegian krona, which is our first share class or fund class, we were up 1.2%. As you can see, the fund is now since inception approximately 70% up compared to benchmark 45% up. So we are happy for that performance. So what did contribute the most on the top? So we see three small mid-cap names, even though Novavax has grown into quite a large cap now. But Calvista and Atea and Novavax were contributing the most on the positive side. Torbjörn will comment more on Calvista, and you have heard about Atea before, but we will comment on that case slightly more today. And even Novavax we will comment on in the section on the vaccine part. On the bottom side you see Thermo Fisher, Aurora and Pfizer. And I would say that there is no dramatic into those bottom contributors. Thermo Fisher, I think, is some profit taking after a very strong 2020. Aurora as well after the positive milestone they reached, and Pfizer also after the strong run earlier. So it's nothing specific on the bottom contributions. But now I leave the word to Torbjörn to comment on the very positive performance from Calvista and Atea.
Thank you very much, Ulrika. So in the fund, Arctic Aurora LifeScience, we're quite interested in orphan diseases. And why are we interested in that area? Yes, one of the reasons being that there's a big medical need in that area. We have about 7,000 orphan diseases. However, only like 5% of them do have a efficacious treatment today, approved treatment. So there's a big medical need. Another reason is that it's the development time from idea to market for these new treatments are shorter compared to other areas in drug development. So we can get quicker out into the marketplace. And the third one is that these treatments are highly appreciated, and you can get good return on the investment investing in those if you invest quite carefully and with high precision. So KalVista is one of those. KalVista is all about treating what we call the hereditary angioedema, which is a genetic condition. This condition is causing very painful and dramatic swelling in various parts of the body, especially in the skin. So it's extremely troublesome and can be dangerous for those patients. As I said, it's an orphan disease. It's 1 in 10,000. However, the market is quite attractive. So it's predicted that in 2026, the market is about $4 billion US. There's not a lot of treatments out there, and it's not very effective, and it's very much based upon injections for these patients in order to avoid the attack. These patients do get attacks, quite a few attacks during a year, where they have big problems. So KalVista is all about treating that condition and taking the treatment from being injections to oral. We have been following the company for a while. We had meetings with the management teams and really looked into the field. And they were supposed, and they came out with phase 2 data, and that is the middle of the development of new products. They came out early this year. And about a week before, we decided really to invest in KalVista, because we thought that the opportunity there was quite high, and the risk for failure was rather low. So we went in, and as you can see on the graph, we got a really good appreciation on that investment in the first place. When they came out, as you can see on the lower panel on the right side, you can see a graph showing that when you treat these patients with active treatment compared to the placebo, then your need for a contaminant medication is much lower. So so-called rescue medication, where you treat the symptoms, are highly significantly reduced, and that's a very good sign. KalVista also do have treatments in development for the more prophylactic treatment of the disease, meaning that hopefully they will not need too much rescue medication or treating the acute disease. And we are looking forward to see those results later this year. But we believe that KalVista can actually transform the treatment in this very important orphan disease. The next one is Atea Pharmaceuticals, and as Ulrika said, we have touched upon Atea a couple of times before maybe, but this is all about slowing down the replication of COVID-19 virus. Or maybe even stopping the virus, and they are developing a medication for that purpose as an oral tablet, and meaning that they can go in quite early in the virus replication. When you are getting the virus on an early stage, you can actually get treatment for that if they can show good results in the clinic. So this is a very could be a very important product for the whole world in the nearest future. We went in as a crossover investment, and crossover means just prior to the IPO. So in May last year, we went in and invested the first tranche to a market cap for Atea of about $250 million. The second tranche was followed after quite a few good milestones and was valued at $600 million. And then they went public in October, 22nd of October last year, with a market cap of about 2.5 billion. And yesterday they were valued at about $6 billion. So almost like what we can call a VC return on investment, but on a very short period of time. So we are following that company quite closely, and are happy that the development has been really good. The company also do have other potential treatments for virus infections, very important virus infections, and they will continue to develop those. We are waiting for the phase 2 data during around the mid of this year. So again, an example of a crossover. We picked the company because we thought it could really serve a great purpose in these COVID-19 times, and also following the deal they did with Roche, out licensing the ex-US rights to Roche. We felt that this is a company that is really growing the right way. So over to you, Ulrika.
So Torbjörn ended by talking about the Roche deal for Atea, and that's of course a very good example of the larger companies insourcing and complementing their pipelines, and then the larger companies bring them broader out into the marketplace to the patients. And as I started with in this presentation, February, the month of February is a very intense month for all the full year reports, and I thought it would be interesting to comment a bit about the large pharma part as well. So looking at the reports that came out now in February, in general, you can say that they showed solid results, sales, and also guidance, as if you compare with what the consensus in the marketplace expected. Now, one should also remember that after the third quarter results last year in 2020, there were a lot of disappointments. So the companies have been out and guided in the market and trying to synchronize the expectations to what is a reasonable outcome. And now they delivered. So that's one thing, but it's also clear that you can say the hangover from the acute situations during the COVID pandemic last year, when all other procedures were postponed at the hospitals, that is actually improving now. So the large pharma companies can see that they actually are getting back, and their outlook is strong for 21 and 22 and onwards. So we would say that the acute effect from the COVID situation on the large pharma sales and revenues is actually diminishing, because they have adopted and procedures have been taken up again at the hospitals. Of course, there are some exceptions. JSK came with weak guidance that was confirmed, and also dividend cut in the European group of companies. In US, they were all quite okay and good, and some were really strong. In terms of, for example, Eli Lilly, they came with a solid result, and they have very interesting Alzheimer data coming up now. And the other large pharma companies also have good year to come. Biogen, though, had a slightly weaker full year results if we move to the big bio part. But also there, the Alzheimer data or the Alzheimer potential approval is in focus. So an exciting year for them. And then finally, for the other big biotechs reporting in February, Regeneron had also very solid results. And as you might remember, they are benefited from the COVID treatments. And finally, Gilead had a very strong result with actually a beat in terms of results, and guidance were also more positive than the market expected. And in terms of Gilead, we foresee a very interesting year when we can see their oncology pipeline start to deliver. So that's an exciting company to follow during the coming year. So all in all, the large pharma segment were showing solid results and actually quite okay growth going forward. However, they still face patent losses coming up now and up until 25. So the ecosystem that we have talked about a lot in the management of Arctic Aurora LifeScience, with larger companies looking for pipeline additions from the smaller companies or even buying them in, is still very valid. So we foresee also a very strong M&A sentiment going forward. Finally, on the large pharma side, quite uniquely now, we heard that Merck has decided to help J&J to manufacture their one-shot corona vaccine, which is very unusual in the industry that the big guys go together like that. So that is a natural leap over to Torbjörn again to talk about the vaccine situation.
Thank you, Ulrika. So this is close to all our hearts, right? We want to get to vaccination as quick as possible. Some of you listening in might already have got it, but you know, many of us are waiting to get the vaccination. We have been invested in this area since the beginning in the COVID-19 pandemic situation last year. And as you can see, BioNTech, Moderna, and Novavax have again appreciated quite a strong development in valuation, because of course they are extremely important in solving the problem around COVID-19 and thereby I would say saving the world. So at the moment we have about 6 vaccines approved for full use, and 6 are authorized in earlier limited use. And we have 4 vaccines that have been abandoned by the regulatory authorities or by the companies themselves because of lack of data. Actually, Merck being one of those. So that's great that they can help J&J in this. And what we also can see here, and have seen since the start of pandemic, is really that companies do help each other in order to solve this very big problem. We also have about 48 vaccines in expanded safety trials or in large scale efficacy trials, and that means that we will probably see more and more approvals in this space. Novavax probably being one of those. So this is important because, as we all know, there's a lack of doses for vaccinations in most of the countries in the world, and we need more vaccines out there. So far, they seems to be almost equally efficacious, or at least being as efficacious as is required by the authorities. However, Moderna, BioNTech, Pfizer, and Novavax seems to be in the leading end of this. Last week, actually, J&J got the authorization from the FDA, and the big advantage of that is that it's only one dose. It's one single shot, so that's important. So we will get more vaccines out in the market very soon. What is on really in the focus at this point of time is the different mutations. So the virus itself, the COVID-19 changes, and especially on the spike proteins, as you can see on the top of the of this slide, that these are the areas in the virus that changes, and this has a great meaning in terms of how quickly they can spread. We have seen mutations that do affect the binding to the cells, and that means that replication and the infections can go quicker. But so far, there is a good hope that the vaccines that are out there right now can actually cover those mutations that we see at this point of time, at least 2 of the 3. However, I do believe that in a year's time, maybe there will be mutations that can escape the mutations. No, can escape the vaccinations we have at this point of time, and that is the reason why it's so important that, for example, Moderna or Biotech, that is the quickest to develop these vaccines. They can also make new ones that cover these new mutations, and Moderna has already started the work on that. So I believe, due to the extreme development in innovation in this field, I do believe that we will have a good coverage of the COVID-19 even after we see more mutations that could escape the current ones. So we are quite positive for the future in this, and hope to be vaccinated soon. Over to you, Ulrika.
So this is what we had planned to talk about today. If you are interested, you can always go into our website at arctic.com/Arctic Aurora LifeScience, and the fund is also on LinkedIn. So stay safe, everyone, and thank you for watching.